Why, hello. Before I get into my discussion of the Harnett County Republican Convention, I first have to mention that there's been a lot of recent events that you probably heard about this. I don't want to talk about it, but unfortunately it's affected things here a lot at our channel. I'd rather talk about Greek mythology than talk about the coronavirus, but it is what it is. You know, life in our country has had peaks and valleys throughout its history, and right now it's going through a bit of a valley. Personally, I think things have been blown way out of proportion. When you look at the number of reported cases of this virus versus the H1N1 virus of about 10 years ago, H1N1 had a lot more cases than the coronavirus, and life stayed normal in American society. But this virus, unfortunately, everybody's just been flying off the handle. I work at a grocery store, and yeah, I've seen firsthand people have just I've seen numbers at the cash register I should not see except in the months of November and December for the holidays. It's crazy. Now, where has it really trickled down to? We here at the Conservative Pelican. It's funny. This virus has really been going on since about January. Okay, however, and everything in American society was pretty normal up until Wednesday afternoon at 5 o'clock, because that's when the NCAA decided to cancel their big basketball tournament they have every year, aka March Madness, right? And then all the poo hit the fan, and it was just a domino effect. NHL, NBA, MLB, all the sports gone. MLB will probably come back, but I would be very surprised if, they've delayed the start of the season for 2 weeks, which takes us to about April the 9th, but still I think that's a little early probably for them to start. I would be shocked if we're playing regular season baseball before May 1st. That's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong, but it's just crazy. And some of you might be living in states right now where, you can't even go out to eat right now because your lame ass governor decided to, just act like a wacko bird. It's crazy. Unfortunately, we have, we even have a couple Republican governors in Ohio and Massachusetts that want to apparently take your freedoms away. But anyway, how has it affected us at the Conservative Pelican? Well, I had a convention that was only about 30-minute drive from here in Greensboro down in Davison County. They canceled. The next best, Forsyth was the next closest, but they want $20, and they kind of treated me rudely last year, so I'm not going to do that one for a while. Chatham County, canceled. Rowan County, canceled. Cabarrus County, canceled. Durham County, they have this guest vetting process, apparently. I'm not going to touch that for a while either. So, 90 minutes drive from Greensboro, we have Harnett County, okay? I'll admit, this whole coronavirus thing really did not hit me. Not literally. I don't have the coronavirus, but as far as wow, this thing seems like it's a pretty big deal to even a lot of my fellow Republicans. And when I went into the room at the government Common Center there in Livingston, North Carolina, in Harnett County. I saw there's probably about 100 chairs set up, round tables in this room, and only about a third of those chairs were filled. And that's when it kind of hit me that oh boy, this seems like a big deal. The numbers suggest versus the H1N1 virus, this should not be a big deal, but it is. So a lot of counties have canceled their convention. I had one that I was going to go to tonight in Hoke County, and then one tomorrow in Davie County. Those have both been canceled. As far as the rest of the convention schedule, things seem to be in place right now, but that could change at a moment's notice. Unfortunately, that's just how things are right now. And Tuesday night, there's one way over in Greene County, but I'm not going to drive 5 hours round trip and then have to be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm just not going to do that. Okay, so let's talk about Harnett County. First thing I want to mention is the voter registration statistics. There are about 134,000 people that live in Harnett County. And of those, we have 76,000 registered voters. So when you divide 76 by 134, you get a voter participation rate of 57%. Now, the growth in Harnett County has been pretty impressive. In 1990, only 68,000 people lived in Harnett County. But the growth rate, the county, has had a 50% growth rate just about since 1990 in that 30-year period. And when I look at the numbers, Republicans are up by about 2,000 votes right now as far as registration. This is a fairly purple county. Red leaning, but yeah, purplish county a bit. Republicans have about 26,000 voters, Democrats 24,000, and your unaffiliateds make up the rest. And I believe when I crunched that number, I think unaffiliates were like low 30,000s or something. But all these numbers were fresh as of Saturday, March 14th, at the State Board of Elections. Okay, so our convention run time was 1 hour and 31 minutes. Precinct meetings were 32 minutes before the convention start time. We had 30 delegates attend, along with 2 guests, me and a nice older lady named Dottie. 30 delegates attended this year's convention. Last year, we had 70 delegates at the Harnett County Convention. But of course, if you want to go back and be a historian, please put an asterisk next to this year's delegate count and make a footnote that it's due to coronavirus concerns. That's why the attendance was down very sharply. Oh yeah, and there were almost as many absentees as there were actual delegates at this year's convention. 27 absentee people were elected as delegates to the district and state conventions, and one of them was Renee Elmers. And no, I'm not going to have a discussion about Renee Elmers in this broadcast. We've discussed her numerous times, given her way too much publicity on this channel than what probably she deserves. But anyway, the actual conventions, precinct meetings were scheduled to start at 9:30. They actually started at 9:53. But the convention started at 10:25. Again, a lot of, coronavirus concerns led to these delayed start times. Just trying to get as many delegates as possible at this convention. I do want to thank Maggie Sandrock for her leadership, for continuing to put on this convention, and doing a really good job with making sure the room was clean and the tablecloths on the table, all the surfaces were disinfected, and she did a good job putting out a press release a couple days before the convention that there was going to be extra cleaning at the convention venue site, for that. And she actually mentioned in her welcome speech that the damn rats canceled their convention. But it's funny, it was supposed to be held in the same exact room the night before the Harnett GOP had their convention. Kind of funny. They actually did theirs on a Friday night, which is, in my opinion, not the greatest night to have a political event, but it is what it is, and there are actually some GOP counties that have their convention on Friday nights. Go figure. Okay. And let's see. When we got to the actual convention start, Mrs. Sandrock mentioned that the Harnett headquarters was going to be open. The target date on that was the end of March. And on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, there would be a recount of approximately 10,000 ballots, because there's a county commissioner's primary race that apparently is too close to call. So one of the candidates in the county commission race will receive a pot of gold. The other one, unfortunately, will receive a bag of coal, I'm being told. No, that's actually a joke by the Little St. Patty's reference there. Okay, so our first speaker of the day was Billy Costanzi. He was the spokesperson for Congressman Richard Hudson, who represents the 8th Congressional District of North Carolina. Mr. Hudson really wanted to be at the convention, but there was a vote taken Saturday morning at 12:30 a.m. for coronavirus funding. Now, some things you should know about Congressman Hudson. He was rated the 12th most conservative by National Journal. That's pretty impressive when you have about 170, somewhere in the high 100s for Republicans in the House. He's also got an award from the Center for Effective Lawmaking, too. His wife is actually, I did not know this, his wife is the chief of staff for Kellyanne Conway, who serves on the Trump, in the Trump administration. Of course, Kellyanne Conway, you probably have heard that name before. She was the campaign, the lead, whatever you call it, the lead campaign person. I forget the term for it, but just, yeah. Now, there's been a lot of new districts that have been drawn across North Carolina. Harnett County has been split now. The new 8th district is including most of Harnett County and all, no, actually, yeah, part of Harnett County and part of Lee County are in the 8th district. Okay. Harnett County used to be in the 2nd district. That is the suburban counties around Raleigh. But now District 2 is entirely in Wake County. It has gone from like an R+5 seat to like a D+10 seat. And Lee County used to be entirely in District 6. District 6 used to be the suburban counties around Greensboro. District 6, like District 2, is now going to be a very urban, Democrat-leaning district. District 6 will be Greensboro and most of Winston-Salem in that district, just so you know. Congressman Hudson is the National Republican Congressional Committee's Finance Committee chair. And Hudson is trying to compete against the Democrats, as the Democrats have actually blocked the Born Alive bill, and they also are promoting the Green New Deal, which is really going to affect every if I hope and pray the Democrats never get full power in Washington, because if they do, they'll pass the Green New Deal, which is going to cause energy prices to necessarily skyrocket. That's what Obama said, by the way, just so you know. And he was actually happy about it too. But yeah, the way you eat, travel, and live is really going to be even worse affected than the coronavirus would ever affect your life. Okay. Also, Congressman Hudson is the congressman who represents Fort Bragg, just north of Fayetteville. And he helped orchestrate the largest race in the last 10 years for the military. District 8 is going to be the most competitive congressional race in North Carolina. So if you have money, if you have time, you can donate to District 8. It'll be greatly appreciated. This district went for Trump. It did go for Trump, but it was only 53%, so very close. 52%, it has a Republican lean, 52% Republican to 48% Democrat, so R+4 in there. Next, we had our old friend Chance Lambeth, who represents David Rouser. And I've actually, because I used to live in Wilmington, so I used to be in David Rouser's district and seen him before. But it's neat that District 7 is now going to have part of Harnett County. There's 6 precincts on the east side of the county around Dunn that are going to have District 7. And then there are 8 counties that go all the way down to the Atlantic Ocean, the coast. And it's funny because I was at the Robeson County Convention last Tuesday, and I'll have a video up on that in the next few days. But did you actually know that really going back at least 10, 15 years ago, that District 7 went all the way out to Robeson County. It's very interesting to see how these districts metamorphosize themselves over time as populations increase in some parts of the state, especially down in Wilmington. District 7 is not as big as it's not as small as it used to be, or doesn't have as many rural counties. Just, you see these districts just change shape decade after decade, because every decade, at the beginning of the decade, right now they're doing the census, and then in 2021 they'll have redistricting, but they do this thing every 10 years. And actually, North Carolina, because of all the left-wing hypocrisy with our courts, we've had to redistrict ourselves like 5 times, I think, over the last decade. It's crazy. But Rouser, he got his big break in politics from working in the Senator Elizabeth Dole, which she served from 2002 to 2008, and he worked on the big tobacco buyout. Rouser serves on the Transportation Commission, which ports are a huge part of transportation. And you have to have good roads to have good ports. Of course, when we talk about ports in District 7, we're talking about the port down in Wilmington. If you're in District 3 and you're talking about ports, you're talking about Morehead City. And if you're talking about District 1 in South Carolina, you're talking about Charleston. So that's your ports geography lesson for the day, boys and girls. Rouser also serves on the Agriculture Commission. And that is huge for North Carolina, because in District 7, you're exporting hogs, sweet potatoes, and blueberries all over the world. Then we had Judge Fred Gore from Brunswick, Columbus, Bladen County, that district, run for a seat on the State Court of Appeals. And he says, look, we can vote for Republican legislatures, get our supermajorities back in Raleigh, and we can, flip the governor's seat back to Republican. But if we want to have good, lasting conservative legislation hold up, we have to win back the state judiciary. And the big example of that liberal hypocrisy was the voter ID amendment, which 57% of North Carolinians voted for that back in 2018. Then one liberal judge said, no, and overturned it. He says the reason why people should vote for conservative justice is that they're going to call the law as they see it. They're not going to legislate from the bench. And one example that Judge Fred Gore wanted the audience to know of why nobody should want liberal justice is not just, Republicans, but Democrats should not want liberal judges either, because here's an example. You have a speeding ticket. Now, you can pay for the ticket, or most people go to court. When you go to court, you're going to be in front of a judge. So dress nice and always say sir or ma'am. Don't say, huh, what, But okay, so you go to court, right? You have a speeding ticket. And the judge can make up any law he wants, right? If they're a liberal just. But if they're a conservative, they'll be like, okay. You got a speeding ticket, 75 and a 55. This is your, I'm looking at your driving record, sir, and everything is clean, so I'm going to cut you a break. Or they'll be like, wow, 3 speeding tickets in the last 6 months. Oh boy, you're going to pay up, son. I'm sorry. See, they're going to call it as they see it. If you have a liberal judge, you'll be like, yeah, well, you have a clean driving record, but you still sped, and let's see here. That'll be $1,000 plus $500 for court cost or something. That'll just make up something, shoot from the hip. Okay. Then we have John Pazer, who is the Victory Regional Field Director for the Trump campaign. And Roger Farina, actually, the Vice Chair of Harnett County, who's a great friend of mine, a big fan of the YouTube channel too, gave some great praise for Mr. John Pazer, because Fayetteville Trump lost to Fayetteville by 20,000 votes in 2016, but in 2019 in the District 9 special election, Fayetteville went for Congress. Republican and good conservative Congressman Dan Bishop Bishop won by 36 votes. So you're talking about minus 20,000, and then you flip it to a plus 36. That's great. Next, we heard from Freedom Works and their representative Darcy Teixeira, and I'm a huge fan of Freedom Works. They are along with Heritage Foundation, one of the best real conservative pro-grassroots, pro-Tea Party, one of the best organizations out there that you can be active in and, continually to keep track of. One of my favorite things that they do is usually once or twice a year, they'll do a bus trip to D.C. from, any of the big cities, North Carolina. They'll take a bus up to D.C. and the bus trip will be free. They'll pay for your bus fare, and you just have to bring money for food and that sort of thing. And even sometimes they'll even do an overnight trip to DC, and they'll actually not only pay for your bus fare, but they'll pay for your hotel too. And yeah, they'll actually, and it's free. You don't even have to do the whole reimbursement thing. Like, you have to pay up front and they'll give you money back. No, it's absolutely free, except for your money for food and that sort of thing. But Mr. Teixeira mentioned a $1 million investment by FreedomWorks for the Women Win initiative. And the goal of this is to get suburban women to vote for Republican candidates up and down the ballot. But suburban women are really Trump's biggest issue right now. I think we all saw that in 2018 because you had congressional district in 2016 that voted for Trump and they voted for Republican congressmen or woman. But then 2018 they flipped to Democrat. These suburban districts. The biggest example I can think of is Dave Bratt in Virginia's 7th district, which is the Richmond suburbs. That's one of the big examples. Also, District 2 in Virginia, the Virginia Beach Chesapeake area, which is usually a Republican-leaning part of the state. Probably the last urban area in Virginia that is still not Democrat yet, and hopefully will not be. Okay. Of course, you have Roanoke, but that's actually going, as Trump does a lot better in Appalachia and the rural areas, Roanoke is going less and less Democrat. So, some people say Virginia's a lost cause. It's a blue state now. It's always going to be a blue state. But who knows? If Republicans can do well in Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, and down Roanoke, because Ed Gillespie got his clock to clean the last governor's race up there. But we'll see what happens. Okay, so getting back to FreedomWorks here, their big areas, they're trying to really promote school choice and healthcare choice as well. Deregulation of net neutrality. Their activists really helped stop net neutrality. Did a good job. And for each regulation that is being proposed by Congress, they have to have a public comment period. And so FreedomWorks encourages their activists to give conservative public comments, because if a regulation gets more conservative public comments and less liberal public comments, then which way do you think that Congress is going to go? Yeah, they're probably going to go for the conservative view on the deregulation. Okay. But they have another goal too. They want to grow the House Freedom Caucus. They have 30 members currently, which is at about 175 Republican members. That's a little low, but we'll see. There's a runoff out in Congressional District 11 out in the mountains of North Carolina between Linda Bennett and Madison Cawthorn. I have not made an endorsement in that race yet. I want to go to their district convention in April, hear from both candidates, and then hopefully I can maybe make a decision. But Linda Bennett right now is being promoted as the House Freedom Caucus's endorsee. Okay. Madison Cawthorn, however, is a young, I think he's like 23 or 24, but he's a young millennial, and he's, trying to be. Republicans have had trouble with the youth vote. That's no secret, but we'll see what happens. Okay. But the thing you really need to keep in mind with FreedomWorks is different from like Civitas Institute, because what FreedomWorks does is they don't grade party line votes. They only really kind of grade those tougher votes. Okay. So, or the easy party line votes. Civitas, they grade like everything, even the easy party line votes. So sometimes a member of the legislature or Congress who might seem more conservative than they really are, or sometimes they'll be very conservative, but their record doesn't necessarily show that because of certain vote scores and that sort of thing. Okay. Also, FreedomWorks took out a newspaper ad against Mitt Romney in the Salt Lake Tribune, and I'll tell you, Utah, some states do this. What Utah does is they do not have a primary election to elect candidates. They actually elect all of their candidates at the state convention. And Mitt Romney apparently actually lost at state convention, but was able to finagle the rules and had a lot of money and get himself, to be the U.S. Senate nominee. And now he's there until 2024. But hopefully by then, how old will Romney be? I think he'll be close to 80 by then. So hopefully he'll be ready to retire, or the people of Utah will really rise up and, get a conservative in there instead of a rhino. Utah is a very deep red state. Why in the world do they have a complete rhino representing them? It's just weird. But also, FreedomWorks wants to modernize the conservative movement. And one of the ways of doing that is, of course, being active with social media and Facebook and YouTube and that sort of thing. Also, Mr. Teixeira mentioned Rumble Up, which is a phone app that people can use to help FreedomWorks out with door-to-door work and that sort of thing. And finally, it should be noted that Maggie Sandrock has been a FreedomWorks activist for at least 5 years. Okay. Then Miss Sandrock mentioned that FreedomWorks really helped them a lot with the George Holden race in District 2. The activist made 60,000 texts for George Holden because Wake County was looking like it was going to be a problem for George Holden. But he won that race in 2018. Maggie also mentioned, look, texts are the future, not robocalls. I've made robocalls a lot before in the past, and usually one of three things happens. Scenario 1, nobody answers the phone. Scenario number 2, you start talking, they'll hang up on you. Or scenario 3, they'll stay on the line with you, but they'll be like, I don't want to answer the survey, or, oh, I'm too old to volunteer, that sort of thing. So text are really, hopefully, going to be the future, not so much robocalls. But still, the most effective way to reach voters is always, always, always door-to-door. Okay, so now we had the credentials report, which I did actually at the beginning of this video, but they did it now at the convention. State Representative David Lewis was the convention chair. I will say he does a very good job. Also, Billy Miller does a very good job too, chairing conventions. But they both have different styles to them. I find David Lewis to be a little bit more laid back, a little more patient than Chairman Miller. And that could be a good thing, because I'll tell you that over the years at state convention, which Billy Miller does pretty much all the business sessions are Billy Miller, and look, he does a good job too. But one of the complaints I'll always hear at least once or twice at a state convention is, especially from those who are a lot older than me and attend these conventions, is you always hear them mention at least once or twice, what did we just vote on? What are we voting on? Why are we, and so one of the things I like about David Lewis is his pace is a little bit slower. And he tends to be more laid back, a little bit more willing to be patient with people. Okay. So we had an initial credentials report, but then the convention delegates wanted to get wanted to have an opportunity to submit the absentee delegates to the state and district convention, and also want to know, how many delegates are allowed or allocated to go to the district and state convention from Harnett County. So we had a little break, and Roger Farina, being the great innovator, creative genius that he is, played a video of our lieutenant governor candidate Mark Robinson speaking at the Wake County GOP convention that was held last Monday. So he did that. So we watched probably about 5 minutes of that. It's about a 20-minute speech. It's on YouTube. By the way, if you're not subscribed to the Harnett GOP channel, please go ahead and do that. Because there's a lot of great content on that channel. I will say that, I really get into the meats. I really get into the muck and the mire of these conventions. Roger Farina takes a little bit more of a broader view and just does videos, actual live videos, doesn't do commentary like I do, but does actual live videos of the candidates speaking at all these events in North Carolina. Even he's done some, out of state too. But definitely check the Harnett GOP YouTube channel out. Roger Farina does very, very good work with that. But coming back into the credentials, of course, we do the app, and I talked about this at the beginning of the video. We do the absentee delegates. Okay, but as far as district and state conventions, at District 7, Harnett County can have up to 47 delegates and 47 alternates at the district convention. At the District 8 convention, they can have 62 delegates and 63 alternates. And these numbers are usually very high. Hardly any county actually goes over their delegate count for that. So the nice thing about North Carolina, how the Republican Party does their business, everything's pretty much any Republican can get involved with business. It's great, compared with the train wreck down in Florida that I was unfortunately a part of for a few years. Okay, but now another question you might have is, how in the world do we get these numbers? Well, the state party has a formula for that, and that's now at the state convention, Harnett County can have up to 109 delegates. And again, but they get the numbers for the district and state convention for the delegate allotments because they divide the number of registered Republicans in the county. They divide that number, which I think is like 25,000 or something, divide that by 250, and that's your numbers. For at-large members to the executive committee, they take the number of registered Republicans in your county and they divide it by 8,000. Okay, for that. Okay, so now we talked about the county plan of organization. Chairman Sandrock got elected to the Harnett GOP as chairman at last year's convention in 2019. One of her first goals was to expand the executive committee, and that seems really, like a really good idea, personally. And the county plan organization, the executive committee, was expanded to include elected officials, along with the original core officers, which are your chairman, vice chairman, secretary, treasurer, and then all your precinct chairs that serve in the county. Okay. However, it was over the last several months at the county meetings, it had become difficult to actually do party business because it was difficult to get a quorum, which a quorum is, your the minimum attendance, the minimum number of people you need at a meeting in order to do business is what it is. And usually the quorum is 50% plus one or something like that. But so it was decided at this convention on last Saturday to revert back to the state plan of organization. So the Harnett County Executive Committee would be just like the state plan of organization have. The county executive committee would have precinct chairs and core officers. Okay. Now, there were a couple questions on the floor of the convention. One was, is it advance notice required? David Lewis mentioned that no. for that. But also there was a gentleman who said that this is good because we can streamline the process more. Personally, I think it's also a good idea to, if you're having problems getting quorum, to go ahead and change things up. I will say that as a person who has probably attended dozens, if not over 100, county party meetings over the years, elected officials, unless they're the guest speaker or unless they have an election in the next few weeks or so, rarely attend county meetings. That's just what I've observed. Okay. And then our buddy Roger Farina asked, well, if the state plan of organization changes at the state convention in May, what happens with the county plan of organization? And Chairman Lewis said that the county plan of organization automatically yields to the state plan of organization, or automatically adjusts or matches to the state plan of organization. Okay. So at this time, we have the announcements period. A couple of district conventions. Now, as of right now, March 16th at 2:27 p.m., all the district conventions are still going to be held at physical locations. However, with this coronavirus situation, that is possible to change. So, please, stay up on Facebook, stay up on the NCGOP website for further information, because it's subject to change. Okay, now I will say this: I understand if the county's chairs want to cancel their county conventions, especially this year. There's not much. This is a very light business year for the counties. But for the district conventions, there's a lot of business that needs to be taken care of at these district conventions. So I would recommend that the district chairs do not cancel the district conventions, because the party business is very complex this year, okay? We have to elect delegates to the Republican National Convention. Not only that, but we have a lot of districts that have changed because of the redistricting rule, and that was passed back in December. So you're going to have, in some districts, you're going to have officer elections. You're going to have new chairman, vice chair, etc. for your congressional district. Another thing, because the districts have changed, a lot of executive committee members, you're going to have to replace. Okay, so you see how complex the business is going to be at the district convention. So I do not recommend the district conventions cancel. Okay. Would it be possible to maybe modify the date of the convention? Maybe move everybody to the last Saturday in April? Because right now you have conventions on April 4th, April 18th, and April 25th. Would it be possible for all the district conventions to be on the 25th? Yeah, I mean, the state of Georgia does it that way, but I wouldn't like it very much, because I'd probably, instead of going to 8 district conventions, I'd probably be able to go to 1 or 2, but it is what it is with this virus. So anyway, District 7 convention, currently going to be at 11 a.m. on April 4th at the Sampson County Exposition Center in Clinton. District 8 convention at 9 a.m. at the Lee County GOP headquarters in downtown Sanford. Oh, and also, Chairman Sandrock mentioned, this is a very good idea, by the way, to go ahead on the state ncgop.org, click on the conventions tab, then go to district conventions, and then go to your respective district convention, or any of them that you want to attend, and RSVP, because the more people that RSVP, this will encourage the district chairman to hold their fire and not cancel these district conventions, okay? One more thing I'll notice is that if you want to be a delegate to the Republican National Convention, the deadline for that is April 1st. And what you do is you go to the state party website, click on conventions, click on become an RNC delegate, fill out the application, submit it. And remember, make sure that you have the financial means to go. This is going to be at least a $3,000 personal investment you're going to have to make. And make sure also that you can take a week off from work. I think it's like the last week of August or something, but there you go. Okay, a couple more things and we'll be wrapping up. Senator Jim Bergen, who's a very, very nice man. He actually came over to the guest section and shook my hand and introduced himself. And I just love it when elected officials do that, because not a lot of them do. A lot of them, they go to these conventions, they just have their little cliques, and blah, 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 but Senator Bergen's a great guy. But he wanted to mention, talk about Mike Halsey run for commissioner of insurance. And Bergen said that, look, we got to get control of the schoolhouse and the courthouse. Otherwise, we're going to be an outhouse. I mean, that's a very good quote, by the way. But Senator Bergen mentioned that, the state has $2.5 billion in the rainy day fund, which is the state is doing incredibly well financially. There are a lot of states that are not. And it should be noted there are $30 million in school and infrastructure investments that are unfortunately being held up by the Cooper Pooper, Governor Roy Cooper, because I want Medicaid. Duh. He doesn't want to pass a budget without Medicaid expansion, unfortunately. And Bergen also mentioned Trump's leadership. The stock market had its largest drop in history, but then it had its largest gain the very next day because of the leadership of the Trumpster, right? And it should be noted that, he has the most experienced business people in his cabinet. And then let's see, we had a announcement about Harnett County for fundraisers doing a gun raffle. It's $30 a ticket, and they're selling 4 tickets for $100. That'll be going on until, I think, Vice Chair Farina mentioned that, to the end of May. And it's being modeled exactly after Lee County and the great Jim Lomack. And actually, Jim is now selling a lot of Harnett County tickets because they've sold all the tickets in Lee County already. And it should be noted that the Harnett County GOP website is down right now. What happened was apparently Nation Builder, which also runs the NCGOP website, Nation Builder is like changing servers, doing some other techie things. But the best way to keep up with the Harnett County Republican Party, is to like them on Facebook and follow them that way. And I already mentioned the YouTube channel, Harnett GOP. Okay. All right, so we finally adjourn 11:56 a.m. and Chairman Lewis says that this motion is not debatable, which it's like, look, I've been at some conventions, especially the state convention, where the business, it generally, somebody will call for an adjournment right on like a cliffhanger, right? That's a time when you want to debate this, but this convention, everything seemed to be wrapped up, so yeah, not debatable, right? And Chairman Sandrock mentioned that there's biscuits and rolls on the back table. Please take some home with you. And I went up to the table and I was impressed. They had Bojangles, like country ham, bacon, egg, and cheese, all these kind of biscuits. I was like, oh, jeez. I wish I would have known that before the convention, because I would have had myself a little snack. I did take one of the prepackaged cinnamon rolls, though, and I didn't take any of the Bojangles biscuits because I had like a 90-minute drive, and they'd be sitting out for a little, I don't know if that would be wise enough to eat those in that current state. Okay, so as of right now, the next convention I'm going to cover is Robeson County. I already went to that, already took notes and everything. Next convention I hope to visit is Burke County on Saturday, March 21st. But again, we'll see with this corona thing what happens. But anyway, as of right now, things are still looking okay. But, well, that's that. Okay, Conservative Pelican here, and we are signing off.